part of a broader series of meetings with ambassadors and representatives from other countries organized at Unimarconi by Professor Carli since last year, if I remember well, who will shortly provide, as I said before, a short introduction to the topic. This meeting is the first one of the 2026, aims at develop, strengthen, and consolidate, hopefully, the university's international relations and cooperation network in South America, especially with Paraguay, of course, which the university places great strategic emphasis on. So for Unimarconi, it's very important to have connections and the possibility to expand and to explore opportunities in Latin America. I therefore hope that this meeting will provide an opportunity to strengthen academic, scientific, and cultural relations between Unimarconi University and Paraguay, and to foster the mobility of faculty and students, the development of joint research projects, and institutional and economic cooperation. So I invite Professor Carli to take the floor and to introduce the topic. So thank you very much for coming, and Federico, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Francesco, thank you very much, Professor Gaspari. Estamos muy agradecidos en tener la embajadora y los consejeros Aquino y Carrillo aquí esta tarde. Entonces, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Paraguay is a very beautiful country that I do not know that well, unfortunately, just a small part of the country, who is playing a role that is increasing its importance year after year. Paraguay economic growth is one of the strongest in South America. Paraguay is proving to be a very stable country, and we will see some important figures on this. And Paraguay is one of the nations part of this Mercosur, this South American agreement, trade agreement, who is negotiating with the European Union. So, especially in this very complicated international framework that we have, I think that looking at countries like Paraguay, with its stability, its potential, it's very important for Italy. So we will take a look at the general conditions of the country, and then we will try to imagine how we could strengthen the relations, academic relations, scientific relations, but also commercial relations and relations between the people of Paraguay and the people of Italy. And as far as these relations are concerned, I think that agreements between universities is one of the most effective tools, because once the students go to Paraguay, the Paraguayan students go to Italy, they create very strong links between the two countries. So this is why I'm very happy that the ambassador and the council to the ambassador can take this presentation to our young researchers and students. I think this is very, very important. So now I leave the floor to the ambassador. And after the speeches, I really hope that you will have questions, and the ambassador and Mr. Carrillo will be happy to answer. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you very much, Mr. Carrillo.
Buonasera a tutti, mi scuso per mi italiano, ma fare l'sforzo di parlare in italiano perché devo imparare, ok? Signor delegato alla relazione internazionale, professore Francesco Gaspari, signor Presidente dell'Associazione Guido Carli, cari studenti, illustri ospiti, è per me un onore essere presente in questo prestigioso Ateneo. La mia sincera gratitudine per l'invito a presentare il Paraguay. La presentazione intitolata Paraguay, Paese di Opportunità, intende illustrare i risultati del percorso di stabilità macroeconomica del Paraguay, la sua prudenza fiscale e la sua apertura al commercio internazionale. Presentiamo il Paraguay come un partner strategico e destinazione affidabile per gli investimenti in America Latina, in un contesto attuale, internazionale, complesso e dinamico. In questo contesto, l'accordo tra il Mercosur e l'Unione Europea rappresenta un'opportunità strategica. Non si tratta soltanto di un accordo commerciale, ma di una piattaforma di fiducia politica, cooperazione tecnologica e crescita sostenibile. Il Paraguay, con una estensione territoriale simile a quella Italia, nel cuore d'America, ha accesso a circa 300 milioni di consumatori del Mercosur, composto da Argentina, Brasile, Paraguay e Uruguay. Ma l'accordo è beneficio reciproco. L'Europa trova nel Mercosur e nel Paraguay sicurezza alimentare, energia pulita e un spazio di stabilità democratica in una regione con enorme potenziale di crescita. Il Paraguay dispone di una rete fluviale che collega l'Atlantico ai principali corridoi produttivi e si progetta verso il Pacifico attraverso del corridoio bioceanico. Il Paraguay è energia che connette, offre energia pulita e rinnovabile, fondamentale per l'industria, ma anche l'energia della sua gente, un capitale giovane, un capitale umano con talento e formazione tecnica. 6 abitanti su 10 sono in età lavorativa. Scusa. La proiezione per il 2025 e per 2026 collocano la crescita economica del Paraguay intorno al 4%. Da oltre un decennio il Paraguay mantiene uno dei tassi di inflazione più bassi della regione, con finanze solide e con una crescita superiore alla media regionale. Il Paraguay offre regole chiare e opportunità concrete. Sappiamo che le sfide persistono, ma siamo convinti che la collaborazione con il settore privato sarà decisiva per superarle e l'alleanza con l'Unione Europea in generale e con l'Italia in particolare è fondamentale. Vi invito a conoscere il Paraguay, un paese di opportunità. Vi ringrazio.
gracias. Y ahora Carrillo para la presentación.
Thank you very much. I do not have the courage the Ambassador Argaña has to speak fully in Italian, so I will do it in English, and also because it's more fun. And thank you very much, Professor Gasperi. Thank you very much, Professor Carli, for the invitation. It is an honor to give this presentation, and thank you very much for your attendance. So the presentation is, the title of the presentation is Paraguay, the Land of Opportunity. And the idea is to get you to have a grasp of Paraguay, on some data about Paraguay. It's mainly about investment and trade. And I can foresee that you might be interested in that recent agreement that was signed between Mercosur and the European Union. But we will go through that eventually, and we will see also how Paraguay is a hub for trade in the region, and also a linkage for value chains. So this is Paraguay. It's right in the middle of South America. It's a landlocked country. Is about 1,000 kilometers from the sea, the closest seashore. We are working on a bioceanical connection there that will link the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean by land. We intend to be like Panama. Panama has a natural connection, but it's by water. But here what we want to do is to connect both oceans by land. And thanks to that, connect also all the inlands of South America. And here we go. We have, even though we're landlocked, we have a very good waterways. The Paraguay River and the Paraná River mainly connects Paraguay to the Atlantic Ocean. The official name is Republic of Paraguay. We have a surface of 406,752 square kilometers, roughly similar to the size of Italy. Our president is Santiago Peña. He was elected for the period 2023-2028. The president is 47 years old. And the official languages, we are all bilinguals. We speak Spanish and Guarani. Guarani is a native language there. A curiosity that might be of interest is that when we were conquered by the Spaniards, they didn't exterminate the indigenous people. They, on the contrary, married them as an alliance for war, right? So the result was that our mothers were Guarani and our fathers were Spaniards, and we speak both languages. Our currency is also called Guarani, just to remember that. We have an urbanization rate of 63%. The capital city, it's called Asunción. Our presidence is a presidential system, and our population is around about 7.5 million. So we have an idea. Lazio has 5.5 million inhabitants, so it's a little bit more than Lazio. The literacy rate is 95%, which is pretty high for Latin America. And the currency is the Paraguay, the Guarani. The Guarani has been valuated lately. The ratio is 7,800 Guarani per dollar, or 8,100 Guaranis per euro. The GDP is of 43,389 millions. The GDP is 5,743. We have a GDP growth of 4.5%, and we have a projection for 2025 and for 2026 that it will be roughly 6%. The inflation is 3.7%, very low for Latin America. And we have foreign currency reserves of 9,500 millions. I already told you the exchange rate. And our external debt ratio is of 33% of the gross domestic product, which is something after pandemics still manageable, right? There are countries that normally are in debt for over 50% of their GDP. So here we have the variation of GDP. If you take a look, there is an average of 4% growth. We intend to grow up to 6% in the following 10 years. So it's the place to be in the sense that the market is increasing significantly and the opportunities for trade and investment and business are huge. This is how our gross domestic product is composed. I will resume this in three aspects mainly. First, it's mostly services. Secondarily is primary production, and then there's the manufacturing. Now, the thing with manufacturing is that, and we will see later, it has increased a lot. We are working on developing manufactured goods as opposed as just exporting raw materials, which is the huge change that we can do as a developing country. And here we go. We export energy. We are the main producer of energy, of clean energy, mainly from hydroelectric dams. We have two big hydroelectric dams. One with Brazil, called Itaipu, is the biggest in the world, and the one with the biggest production of electricity. And another one with Argentina, called Yacyretá. As you can notice, all the important names in Paraguay are usually in Guarani. And we also have a small one that is that we own, that we use it only for export electricity. And you can see here how it has changed, the composition. In 2003, 50% of our exports was energy, and the primary production was almost 30%. And the part of manufacturing was roughly 20%. And 20 years later, the manufacturing has almost doubled. It rose 47%. So we are really working on transforming those raw materials into manufactured goods. And that is important if you get to see that it's a landlocked country and that we have a lot of cost of transportation of freight. It's the same cost to transport 1 ton of soybean as 1 ton of oil made of soybean, which entails industrialization, labor, and formalization of the economy. So that's how we cope with the disadvantage of being landlocked, trying to export materials that has been processed and that can leak into the economy more benefits than just raw material. So this is how the foreign direct investment has been increasing over the years in Paraguay. Again, there are some aspects that I wouldn't like to get so much into depth because we don't have all the time, but we're open in case you have particular interest on that. We're open to receive your questions. And these are the countries. Italy, I think, is 17 in the number of origin of foreign investment in Paraguay. And the main sectors of foreign investment is trade, finance, oil production, which is not oil as hydrocarbon, but it's oil consumption, transport, agriculture, chemical products, real estate, communications, and so on. These are the origins of our investments. There is now, and Singapore has to be added here. And we receive the investment grade from two two companies. There are some companies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, Fitch Ratings, that rates the economies and analyze and recommends the investors whether this country has the conditions to ensure that your investment will be safe there, right? They see is there political stability, is there economic stability, is there major natural events like landslides or whatever kind of is there war, right? So after an effort of almost 30 years, we got first investment grade from Moody's in 2024, and in 2025 from Standard & Poor's. We're waiting. We expect that Fitch will also rate us as with a grade of investment in either this year or next. Also, there is a foundation, Getúlio Vargas in Brazil, that that assesses whether a country it's good or provides the environment for making business, right? To get together, to find another business people and close deals. And also the legislation has to do with that. Paraguay has been consistently rated as a place to make businesses. And then we have an investment tax scheme. Please let me know if we're getting time, but this is something peculiar. It's, I would say, unique in the continent. We have a corporate income tax of 10%. You can see the comparison with Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, and Chile. Chile is probably one of the most convenient ones in Latin America. 10% for corporate income tax, 10% for personal income tax, 10% for VAT or indirect tax rate, and altogether with the pensions and all the other contributions that we have to do, it's about 35%. And you can see the comparison, only Uruguay might be close to it. I don't remember, Italy it's 20, VAT is 23%. I don't know about personal income tax, but it's normal in a developed economy, but in a developing country, this is very convenient. So another interesting thing that it's not in this slides is how we work with foreign currencies. You can work with euros, you can go with dollars, and you can use national currencies in Paraguay. You can send 10,000 euros to Paraguay, and then take over 10,000 euros from Paraguay without any cut from the government, which is the usual case in other countries. Of course, you will have to pay some fees to the banks because, you know, that's how banks profit. But the government itself doesn't take a share of foreign investment or foreign savings in Paraguay. This is our labor scheme that you will see the holidays, how many hours we work per day, that we have a 13th salary, the legal wages, and that's the contributions to Social Security. Still pretty decent. This is our energy production, is the whole renewable, the whole electric generation of Paraguay is renewable, always from hydro dams, and we're working on improving this. We have a lot of sun, so we're trying to use also solar panels. This is the distribution, the energy distribution, and these are the incentives for investments. I will go fast on this because it's very specific, but feel free to ask if you have any questions. So Again, the main attractive for us is the low tax scheme that we present for investments. We have a maquila regime which allows producers to bring raw materials to Paraguay or to buy it from Paraguay, process it, and take it out as manufactured goods without paying taxes. They only pay, they pay at 1% of taxes, unless they want to sell it in the local market, in which case they have to go through the 1010 tax scheme that we have seen. Then is the investment incentive law, which is from 1990. So this is nothing new. It's been for almost 35 years here, where we exempt the tax for capital goods, we exempt the value-added tax, and we provide a number of other benefits to investors. We also have free trade zones where our production is like here in Europe. Whatever is produced in Italy can go freely to any other member of the European Union. In the same way, anything that is produced in Paraguay or has some percentage of production in Paraguay can go to other countries of Latin America. Let's go to something. Thing that could be of interest is we have some incentives for the production of cables for automobiles, and here they're mainly female workers. So that's a way to improve in case you're interested in gender empowerment. So here's the net of network and commercial agreements. Again, Paraguay is small in size in the terms of population. We're not many. We're 7.5 million roughly. But the market that we're integrated is 300, which makes it very interesting. And we have recently signed the agreement with the European Union, and we're about to finalize the agreement also with the European Free Trade Agreement, which is the other 4 European countries. And these are the network of multilateral agreements that we have. This is important because whatever you produce in Paraguay, you can export to these countries. So it's a hub, a production hub. And this is also a trade a net of trade agreements that we have, but these are bilateral. It's not within Mercosur, but it's only Paraguay and these countries. And here are our podium products, right? We're number 1 exporting energy, clean energy. Also mate tea, 3rd in the world, 6th in soybean, and 4th in manso, in meat. And chia seeds, also cassava stash, and manufacturing of casting manufacturing and synthetic fiber blankets, soybean oil, grapefruit juice, and brown rice. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for the very impressive figures. I don't know whether Professor Gaspari has some question or if we can...
I think we can start with
yes.
our guests, and then we will...
Maybe, okay, perfect. So I would ask Friso and Freda to join us here, and no, come here.
Okay. In Italian? Okay. E mi detto in italiano? Sì. No. Ah. Vai prima tu.
Grazie ambasciatrice per l'opportunità E noi le vorremmo chiedere, alla luce delle trasformazioni dell'ordine internazionale, come definirebbe oggi il posizionamento strategico del Paraguay sul panorama geopolitico attuale?
Paraguay c'è un presidente giovane, Santiago Peña, ha 47 anni, è un imprenditore fantastico, economista, e noi abbiamo una stabilità economica, politica, social molto lunga. Mi sembra che è un più paese más stabile nella regione.
Ok, allora, il Paraguay è uno dei pochi paesi a mantenere le relazioni diplomatiche anche con il Taiwan. E come si inserisce questa scelta nella più ampia strategia del Paraguay verso l'Asia e il Pacifico?
Sarà molto interessante parlare in spagnolo in questa domanda. Capisce? Ok. Parlerò piano piano. Paraguay tiene una relación histórica con Taiwán que nos ha dado resultados óptimos a través del tiempo. Si bien lo económico, los empresarios tienen libertad de trabajar directamente con China continental o con Taiwán, las relaciones del gobierno son estrechas y históricamente con Taiwán. Paraguay ha tenido una cruenta guerra, la guerra contra la Triple Alianza, que ha sido en 1864 a 1870. Hemos tenido 3 países que se han enfrentado a Paraguay: Argentina, Brasil y Uruguay. Hemos perdido el 90% de la población paraguaya. Prácticamente ha sido devastada los hombres y jóvenes paraguayos. Fueron las mujeres las que han repoblado el país a través del tiempo. Eso hizo que nosotros, con los países que nos han dado la mano, que nos han extendido el apoyo, hemos hecho una alianza muy fuerte. No solamente el gobierno sostiene la alianza con Taiwán, sino el Parlamento y la población. La población ve las relaciones con Taiwán como un pacto de amistad, supervivencia y ciudadanía. Es muy difícil que Paraguay termine esta relación sin impedir que económicamente se pueda tener relaciones con China continental. En lo económico le pasaré la palabra al consejero Enrique para que pueda darles una lectura menos política y social.
And I'll go again in English. Thank you, Ambassador. There is a trade relationship with China. There has always been. It's the main trade partner for imports. So it's the main origins of our imports, as it is everywhere in the world, right? And for our exports, the statistics are not very realistic. Yes, I think it's fourth or fifth as a destination of our exports. However, we think it's much more because the production of Paraguay, it's the matrix of production of Paraguay is very similar to those of Argentina and Brazil. Whatever we produce, it's also produced in Argentina and Brazil, and we are fully integrated. So some of the businesses that produce in Paraguay are the same that produce the same things in Argentina or Brazil. So they sell the same goods, but they label it as Argentinian or Brazilian, although they are in origin Paraguayan. So that's how we trade with continental China. I don't think it's necessary to go deeper in the political relation. The ambassador has already explained that. With Taiwan, yes, we have some trade, and we have an important relationship of investment. They are investing in Paraguay for the production of the geniuses of microchips, and we're trying to start working on that. They have also founded a university in Paraguay that is a technical university that is preparing Paraguayans to be able to produce high-tech production. And we have also increased recently the exports of meat to Paraguay, to Taiwan, first bovine or manso, and we have also starting to export their avian food, avian meat, and porcine, swine pork meat, which are emerging productions in Paraguay for export. It's normal and has been there forever, but with export quality, it's our first market, and we intend to use that as a platform to start exporting to other Asian countries.
Gracias. Considerando comunque, come lei ha detto in precedenza, la grande influenza che la Cina ha in America Latina, si potrebbe pensare a un eventuale coinvolgimento dei paesi del Mercosur con Taiwan tramite il Paraguay?
Well, there is a lot to weigh there. As the ambassador was mentioning, the relationship between Paraguay and Taiwan is of principle, right? To democracies and a lot of affinity. The world is changing. The world is changing. So anything could happen. At some point, we were very pressured to shift our relationship to continental China. But our relationship with Taiwan was a principle. But the world is changing, and it's changing mainly in that area of the world. Thank
you. Quali sono le principali sfide per la sicurezza e la stabilità regionale per il Paraguay e come il Paraguay sta contribuendo ad affrontarle adesso?
Well, transnational crime, I would say illicit traffic, which includes narco traffic, right? Those I would say are the most dangerous one, and the ones that put the stability of the very state on stake, right? we're working very close to our neighbors, with Argentina and Brazil, and the US also, to keep under control transnational crime, right? We keep a strict eye on financial transfers, right? That is one of the criticisms that we receive, because we have all this scheme: come, invest in Paraguay, bring your money here. But when you go there, any of you, you go with your money and you want to invest in Paraguay, and we say, but where is that money coming from? Can you show us how you earn that money? And that makes the whole process slower, right? But it's the price that we have to pay to make sure that the money that flows into the country, it's a good money, and that it would not go to transnational crime. As for regional stability, right now if you look at the news today, you would see that the region is the most stable and calm that you can find. Maybe Europe, but don't go too much east. It's the same problem. It's the illicit traffic. But we're working together with our neighboring countries to develop joint inspections, joint operations, which sounds easy, but entails a lot of coordination and a lot of effort from governments at their different levels, national governments in other countries, federal government, department governments, and the very cities. So that's how it's a transnational phenomena, a problem, and we have to address it transnationally.
Invece il Paraguay che ruolo potrà svolgere magari nella cooperazione interregionale, soprattutto con altri paesi dell'America Latina e in particolare con i paesi dell'Organizzazione degli Stati Americani? L'OAS, Organización de OAS.
Well, we've been trying to do some specific things for a long period of time, right? And we have developed some capacity, right? We have become very good at elections, democratic elections. We're very good at it. If you want to make sure that your elections run smoothly, bring a Paraguayan. We have experience there, right? And we have successful, not easy, but successful transition from an authoritarian regime that lasted more than 35 years to a democratic regime. Right? And that's another thing where we have a lot of capacity, a lot of knowledge, that good practices that we can share with other countries, especially countries that are starting now their process of leaving authoritarian regimes to become full democracies, right? And then, where in the realm where I'm more comfortable, we have developed a lot of knowledge and good practices for production of all those products that you have seen, of how to go from growing just cereal to producing oil or manufactured goods out of raw materials. And also cattle production. Ambassador Argaña was ambassador in Ecuador when we export their cows for breeding. So our quality of cows, our quality of livestock is really high. Sometimes this is important. If you go to Paraguay, make sure to have an asado. Make sure to have barbecue, okay? Make sure. I know you probably are familiar with how good Argentinian food, Argentinian meat is. They're very famous for us. Go to Paraguay, try Paraguayan meat, and then we talk. I think if we're not as good, we might be slightly better, right? Give us a chance, try our meat. So that's important, how we improve our quality of the meat over the time. We have even exported something that was for Paraguay was something huge. We exported breeding material from our cattle to Argentina. That was in 2021, which was a landmark for Paraguay. Like, we sell our genes to Argentina. So give us a chance. If you go to Paraguay, try Paraguayan food, try Paraguayan asado.
Prima abbiamo parlato del Mercosur e volevamo avere una visione più dall'interno del valore strategico che viene attribuito dal Paraguay a questo accordo anche nel rafforzamento delle relazioni con l'Europa.
El Mercosur. Well, Mercosur. Well, first for Paraguay, we ended. Let's put it another way. We started our democratic era in 1989, and the Treaty of Mercosur was signed in 1991. One of the principles of that integration process, which at the moment was only Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay, was a democratic government, which was essential to maintaining democracy in Paraguay, right? Again, if you look at statistics in every part of the world, you will see that the trade that produces internal growth that happens in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in Latin America, is the regional trade. That's the trade that brings development. And I would say it's lowering now, but about 45% of Paraguayan exports goes to Brazil and Argentina. So it's not only important for political reasons, for maintaining democracy, but also for development in the sense that it produces or it facilitates the trade that brings development to Paraguay. Another important thing, a major thing, and it has a similar structure than the European Union, than the presidency rotates and all the meetings are celebrating in the country, right? So that is a way to ensure that at least every 6 months, we sit at the highest level of every part of government in a table with Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. And we exchange good practices, we develop best practices or better practices, and we have the opportunity, when there's dialogue like that, at that level, we have the opportunity to tackle common problems, right? So that's, I would say it's always positive, Mercosur. Now, you mentioned relationship with Europe. Well, Ambassador Argaña was mentioned the big war of Paraguay that ended in 1875, in 1870. The country was devastated. There were no males. There were only old people and babies. Then no men, only women. And with a country like that, devastated, ruined, we turn now 100 years of relationship with Italy. We signed a treaty with Italy. Italy signed a treaty, a peace, trade, and navigation agreement with Paraguay. in 1875. It's another country like Taiwan that we after the war. So we deem them very, very, we cherish them. We cherish that relationship. Some numbers, because I'm sure you know that there's huge community of Italians in Argentina, in Brazil, in Venezuela. You're aware of that, right? Well, in Paraguay, 1 of every 3 Paraguayans is an Italian descendant, including here the ambassador, my colleague, and I. There are around 10,000 Italians registered in the Embassy of Italy in Paraguay as resident in Paraguay. And there is 600,000, almost 10% of the population, of dual citizenship, Paraguayan Italians, registered in the Embassy of Italy in Asunción. So you have an idea of how close we are, even though we're smaller and we don't make that much noise as our neighbors, but we're still close and we have very similarities. So our ties with Europe are very close. Same thing happens with us with mainly Spain and I would say Germany. In terms of trade, there has always been trade between Europe and that part of the world for 500 years now. So the agreement that we have recently signed between Mercosur and the European Union, what it did is to give a legal framework to a trade that already existed for over 500 years, to provide clear rules for trade and investment.
We finished the questions. Thank you so much.
Solamente agregar algo. Paraguay e Italia están en los mejores momentos de relaciones políticas y económicas. Cumplimos 150 años de relaciones diplomáticas. El presidente Peña se ha encontrado con el presidente Mattarella en 3 ocasiones. Una ocasión en Paraguay, Mattarella ha visitado el Paraguay, y 2 veces en Italia. El presidente Peña ha estado con el primer ministro Meloni el pasado octubre. Se han establecido metas y hemos tenido reuniones de consultas políticas. Ahora, el 13 de marzo, la sotosecretaria María Trípodi va a Paraguay. Yo acompaño la delegación para fortalecer aún más esas relaciones. Esos valoramos mucho, apreciamos y agradecemos de nuevo al profesor Carli por esta oportunidad de poder presentar el Paraguay como un país de oportunidades. Muchas gracias, profesor.
Grazie. Grazie ambasciatrice, grazie signor Carrillo e grazie a voi per la presenza, grazie all'Università Marconi che insieme all'Associazione Guido Carli ormai da 1 anno e mezzo coltiva questo ciclo di incontri per aprire una visione su questo mondo così vario e che è importante soprattutto per i giovani conoscere. Quindi davvero grazie alla Marconi, grazie ai ragazzi dell'Associazione Guido Carli e grazie all'Ambasciata del Paraguay. Non so, siamo in chiusura, se qualcuno dei ragazzi ha 1 o 2 domande velocissime per chiudere. No, grazie allora.